Today I'll be showing you how to make 10 easy rum cocktails using just one bottle of rum. Thanks to today's video sponsor, Bacardi. The majority of these cocktails require very minimum ingredients, so once you have lemons, limes, mint, pineapple, pineapple juice, coconut water, you're good to go for most of these drinks. Bacardi first started production in Cuba in 1862, but these days it's produced in Puerto Rico. And it has been since around 1936. Bacardi Superior is a lighter style rum, a little bit sweet with notes of vanilla. And it's often used in classic cocktails such as mojitos and daiquiris. I've got a lot to cover, so let's get straight to it. Now we're easing into things with the simplest of drinks. We're making a rum mule. So I'm doing this in a 2-to-1 ratio, so 2 parts ginger beer to 1 part of light rum. So 2 ounces, 60 ml. Not going to measure the ginger beer, so I'll fill the glass with ice and pour over the top. I'm using Fever Tree ginger beer. This is a 200 ml bottle, so just over half the bottle would be perfect. Spot on. I think the key to a good mule is a nice big squeeze of lime juice. So I'll squeeze that over the top and gently stir to combine, making sure not to disturb the carbonation. Rum mule. Cheers. Can't get any easier. A little bit sweet, but nice and spicy. So drink number 2 supposedly predates the daiquiri, which surprised me. I haven't heard of this before until last week, and I'm keen to give it a shot. It's the same template as a daiquiri, but we're using honey syrup. So originally this drink did contain aguardiente, which is a spirit that's made with sugarcane. So it's in the kind of same realm as rum. It's made from the same product, but it's made from the sugarcane itself, not as made from the byproduct being the molasses. Anyways, yeah, it's a simple 3-ingredient drink, and I love honey cocktails, so very, very keen to try this one. So shake and drink. We'll start by measuring 2 ounces, 60 ml of light rum, Bacardi Superior. So I think those sweet notes will work quite well with the honey and balance it out with the acidity from the lime. So we've got a 3-to-1 honey syrup, 2/3 of an ounce, 20 ml, and then half an ounce, 15 ml of lime juice. So this is essentially a sweet honey daiquiri served over ice. It's going to garnish with a little lime wedge. It's a really lively drink. Don't think I mentioned the name. It's a CANCHANCHARA. CANCHANCHARA? Woeful pronunciation, I know. Cheers. Ooh. It's very honey forward, because you've got 20 ml, 2/3 of an ounce of a 3-to-1, so a strong honey syrup. It's not overly acidic. It sways towards the sweet side, but made using honey, so I quite like it, like this. I mean, like I said, it's honey daiquiri over ice. What's not to love? So apparently the Canchánchara is the predecessor of the daiquiri, like I mentioned a second ago, so therefore it makes a lot of sense just to roll into the daiquiri, the follow-up cocktail. Now these are the particular specs that I prefer. There's lots of different ways you can make a daiquiri, but I like a 6-to-1 ratio, which equates to 2 ounces, 60 ml of light rum, 2/3 of an ounce, 20 ml of fresh lime juice, and 10 ml of rich syrup. Now if you don't have a rich syrup and you have simple syrup on hand, you can just bump that up to half an ounce, 15 ml. But I like the lesser water content of using a richer syrup. So that was 1/3 of an ounce, 10 ml of a rich syrup. Easy, 3 ingredients, ice, shake, straight into the glass. And straight into a chilled coupe. Now, if you would like to, you can garnish it with a lime wedge or a lime wheel. With my daiquiris, I prefer to leave it ungarnished. Completely up to you though. Cheers. My favorite daiquiri spec, 6-to-1. To me, that's just right. That perfect balance of sour and sweet. I'll leave some other specs in the description below. There's a test you can undertake and try a couple of different daiquiris side by side to find out what your preference is. And it gives you a really good understanding of balance in a cocktail. So check that out. Otherwise, let's get on to the next cocktail. Cocktail number 4. So these first 5 cocktails are probably very recognizable or familiar to you. The last 5 cocktails are probably something a little bit new, a little bit more left of field that you may not be familiar with. So make sure you stick around. But it would not be a 10 rum cocktails using 1 bottle without a mojito. So tons of different ways to make a mojito. Some people like to muddle their mint, muddle their lime juice, use fresh lime juice, use different rums, use different sugars and all sorts of things. This just happens to be one way to make a mojito. And it just happens to be the way I prefer to make it these days. The way I've made it over the years has evolved. So let's get straight into it and measure out 2 ounces 60 ml of light rum, Bacardi Superior, and then 1 ounce 30 ml of lime juice, and then half an ounce 15 ml of rich syrup. Again, if you've only got a simple syrup, then just increase that to 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml. Now, because I'm not muddling the mint, you can add it at the very beginning or you can add it now. It's not going to make too much of a difference. Plenty of mint. The more mint, the better. 10, 12 mint leaves, and add them in. And then just partially fill with pebble ice or crushed ice. Same. Give it an aggressive stir. This will impart the mint oils and that flavor on the drink. Add some dilution, and then top it up with more ice. Now with the soda water, I'm only going to add a tiny splash. And if I didn't have any soda water in the fridge and I was making this for myself, I'd probably omit the soda water altogether. Plenty of ice. Dilution is our friend. A couple of nice, big, healthy sprigs of mint. There's my preferred method to make a mojito. Cheers. Anyone that says that they don't like a mojito is lying. Mojitos are fantastic. You've got this ever so subtle kind of bubbliness and spritz because I used just a tiny dash of that soda water. It is higher on the acidity side, but I think that it does evolve a little bit once the ice dilutes or the ice melts and provides that dilution. And then you've got that really nice mint note throughout the whole entire drink. If you wanted even stronger mint notes, you can muddle that mint just as long as you don't obliterate it. But fantastic mojito. Such a good drink. I haven't had a mojito in a while, actually. It's cocktail number 5. Now it's time for a Pina Colada, but this one's a little bit different. I found this on the Bacardi website. It's a shaken version of the Pina Colada, and it doesn't actually contain coconut cream. So it's going to be a lighter, more vibrant, tropical version of the Pina Colada that most people know. Normally it is rum, pineapple, coconut cream, and a little bit of lime juice. So this version, pretty excited to try actually. I've always disliked coconut water, but I'm becoming more accustomed to it. So this one, I'm looking forward to it. So we start off with fresh pineapple pieces. Add that straight into our tins. 4, 5, 6 pieces. And then we want to add 2 teaspoons of caster sugar for the people across the pond, super fine sugar. And then give it a muddle. So we're essentially making our own really thick pineapple syrup or sweetened pineapple puree. Then measure up 2 ounces, 60 ml of light rum, 1.5 ounces, 45 ml of coconut water. So I feel like the coconut flavor is going to be a little bit subtle on this, but I'm okay with that. I think it will pair quite nicely with the sweetness of the Bacardi. 1 ounce, 30 ml of fresh pineapple juice, and that's it. Shaken and strained. I'm almost tempted to add a little bit of lime juice, but I'm gonna try it as it is. Short shake just to combine because we're serving it over pebble ice. Double strained. Because it's on pebble ice, serve it with a straw. I'm going to keep the garnish simple, just with a pineapple frond. It's got a nice frothy texture to it because of that fresh pineapple juice. A shaken Pina Colada, no coconut cream, coconut water. Cheers. It's good, it's nice. It's very light. It's not heavy like some pina coladas can be. I would like the tiniest squeeze of lime juice to give it more acid. You also get that kind of like salty, savory note from the coconut water, which makes it quite different from a traditional pina colada. Worth a try. Now you might notice that some of these cocktails are ever so slight variations on one another, and this is the same. So the caipirinha is a muddled drink, muddled limes and sugar and cachaça. But if you change that cachaça to vodka, it's a caprioshka, and if you change that vodka to rum, then it's a Caipirissima. So I'm going to make a Caipirissima for today's cocktail. Rum, lime, sugar, you know, sort of similar, same kind of flavor profile as a daiquiri, but the only thing is you have probably less lime juice and more influence from the oils from the skin. So there's a particular way that I do like to cut my lime. So I like to trim off the ends and then from end to end, cut the lime into quarters, like so. Now when you do muddle your lime, you have to keep in mind the size of your limes. This is a fairly large lime, so I probably won't muddle it too much because otherwise I'll extract too much lime juice and therefore it will potentially be too sour. And then if you've got any pith on your pieces, then give them a little bit of a trim. Not the pith, but the center, I don't even know what to call it. The piece in the center. The white piece in the center. And after you've trimmed them off, cut these pieces in half, and then you'll have 8 nice little wedges. Now, you can do the whole entire lime. In fact, because I'm using such a large lime, I'll just do 3/4. I'll change it up. Last minute change of plans. If you're using a small lime, then just use the whole lime. Then add 2 teaspoons of caster sugar or superfine sugar and muddle it in the glass to extract the lime juice and those essential oils from the lime skin. Now, some people do make this in a shaker, give it a shake to add more dilution to it. You can do that as well. I believe this is probably a more traditional way of doing it. Not that that really matters, I guess. So we've got our sweet and sour component. Now we just need to add our spirit. 2 ounces of Bacardi Superior, 60 ml. Just want to start by adding a little bit of ice. And if you find that this is strong, you could potentially add a little bit of pebble ice in here, which will help with dilution. I just like to agitate it and give it a little bit of a stir, just to add some dilution. Then top it up with more ice. Instead of cutting a new piece, then I'm just going to use one of those unmuddled pieces as the garnish. There you have a Caipirissima, a riff on the caipirinha instead of cachaça. It's light rum. Real simple. I have not had one of these for a long time. Cheers. Nice and limey. The rum is bold, stands up, and then you get that kind of vanilla-y character of the Bacardi coming through as well. This next cocktail is the Caribeno, and I assume that it originates from the Caribbean, given the name, and that's also what it says in Smuggler's Cove. So these specs are from Smuggler's Cove. I don't know how true to the traditional recipe it is, but it's essentially just rum and coconut water with a little bit of sweetener and a little bit of acidity through lime juice. So real simple drink. I'm gonna follow the method they use to make it in Smuggler's Cove. They use a milkshake blender, but I'm essentially gonna whip shake it, serve it over pebble ice. So served tall over ice. So 2 ounces, 60 ml of light rum, Bacardi Superior. And then we have 4 ounces, 120 ml of coconut water. And then it's sweetened ever so slightly with Demerara syrup, using Liber & Co. Of course, you could use a simple syrup if you prefer, if that's what you have on hand. Actually, ignore my original comments because I don't think there was lime juice in the Smuggler's Cove version. I should have double checked that. Anywho, so we've got 2 ounces, 4 ounces, quarter ounce and quarter ounce. And then we're gonna add a couple of larger ice cubes and a bit of pebble ice, give it a real short whip shake before transferring to whatever this glass is called. Almost lost it. It's a pretty big glass. Just garnishing with a lime wedge, if you wanted to, pineapple spear or something else tropical, possibly even a mint sprig. Mint sprig. Yeah, let's do a mint sprig. The Caribeno. Caribeno. I've got my Australian accent on it, so however it's meant to be pronounced, pretend like I said that. Cheers. Like, I mean, it's mostly rum and coconut water. The sugar and the lime juice are there in such small portions that it doesn't get into that like sort of sour recipe category. So it kind of just accentuates. I think I'd almost like to put a little bit of saline in this as well. Coconut water is the hero of this drink. Pairing with that rum, the lime juice kind of just brightens it up just a little bit. I feel like this is a great drink for hydration. All right, let's go down to cocktail number 9. Let's make a cucumber rum Collins. We'll start by muddling a little bit of cucumber in our cocktail shaker. If you wanted to, you could make this directly in the glass, but this is going to be a little bit more refined, cleaner, because you can strain out the cucumber chunks while still having that flavor within the drink. Measure out 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml of lemon juice, and then half an ounce, 15 ml of simple syrup. So 1 part sugar to 1 part water by weight. Then muddle the cucumber and measure out 2 ounces, 60 ml of light rum using Bacardi Superior. You can garnish how you like, but this is just one option. If you have a long cucumber lying around. A little bit of soda water. There you have a cucumber rum Collins. Simple garnish, but I think it's quite effective. Cheers. Nice and refreshing, and that cucumber flavor works really well. If you wanted to, you could add a little splash of elderflower liqueur, and that would pair perfectly with that cucumber. Okay, this next cocktail is a little bit of a stretch to be able to call it a single bottle cocktail. This is the cable car, or at least a variation of it. So the original recipe for a cable car calls for a spiced rum and dry curacao, which is an orange liqueur. But this is a single bottle video series. So therefore, I'm only using the bottle of rum, and I've replaced that with an orange syrup. And then if you wanted to, you could spice the rum yourself, but what I've done is I've made a spiced orange syrup. Really simple. I'll leave the specs in the description below. This is 2 orange peels weighed, and I've added the equivalent amount of sugar and let it sit overnight. So the sugar is called an oleo. This is an orange oleo. The sugar has pulled the oil out of the orange, and I've also added a little bit of vanilla syrup, some ground cinnamon, and some nutmeg. So it's essentially replicating the orange liqueur and the spiced rum. It's not going to be 1 for 1, but it's going to get you in the ballpark, and it'll save a little bit of money if you've only got the 1 bottle on hand. So I'm going to start by preparing my glass and doing a cinnamon sugar rim. Very rough cinnamon sugar rim. That's not too bad. This is a shaken drink, so we're going to start by measuring out 1.5 ounces, 45 ml into your cocktail shaker. If you wanted to, you could extend that out and go 2 ounces, 60 ml. Fresh lemon juice. In my case, I'm using pseudo juice. I'll leave a link to that up here so you can check out that video. Extend your citrus yields and your shelf life. 1 ounce, 30 ml of that lemon juice. And then we have our spiced orange oleo, or spiced orange syrup, whatever you like to call it. 3/4 of an ounce, 22.5 ml. Slightly under that actually, because otherwise it will be quite sweet. Double strain into a chilled cinnamon sugar rimmed glass. Actually looks quite similar to the original as far as color goes. Now, as far as flavor goes, cheers. that tastes really good. That tastes great. Get a lot of that warming spice coming through, especially because you've got cinnamon on the rim. Oh, this is nice. I think the cable car is such an underrated drink. And of course, like I mentioned, if you don't want to incorporate spice into your syrup, then you can spice your rum. Try using vanilla, nutmeg, cinnamon, what have you. Completely up to you. Now I've saved the rum recipe with the most detail to the very end, but I do think this is 100% worthwhile. This is the Coquito. It's a traditional Puerto Rican Christmas drink. It's kind of like eggnog. Well, it's in the same realm, but it doesn't actually have egg in it. So it's made with cream of coconut, evaporated milk. Relatively easy, takes a little bit of time on the stovetop, you let it cool, refrigerate it. So you want to prepare this ahead of time, perhaps the day before, but it's an excellent recipe. So let's make a traditional Coquito. Start by weighing 200 grams of sugar. So these first couple of ingredients, we're essentially making our own cream of coconut, which is just sweetened coconut milk or coconut cream, and 200 grams of coconut milk. That will make approximately 300 milliliters of cream of coconut. So if you're using cream of coconut, such as Coco Lopez, just use 300 ml. Add that in and then turn the heat on. Next ingredient is the evaporated milk, 300 milliliters, and a teaspoon of good quality vanilla extract. Then the spices, 1 star anise, 1 clove, 1 stick of cinnamon, and 1.5 teaspoons of ground nutmeg. I'm using whole nutmeg and grinding it down, so I'm just estimating this. It's a lot though. I'm actually using a scaled version of this recipe, so it's about 6 times the volume. You will yield roughly about 5.5 to 6 liters doing the full recipe, so I'll leave that in the description below. This recipe should make just under 1 liter. When I make my own cream of coconut, I typically add a little pinch of salt into that as well, so I'm just gonna add the tiniest bit of salt in there. Oh, that's good. That is delicious. Just wait for it to boil, turn off the heat and let it cool. The mixture has been sitting for a couple of hours, so it's had a chance to cool and those spices and flavors to meld together. So you want to use a fine strainer and strain it into your blender jug. Of course, you can do this with a stick blender, do it directly in the pot if you're using a bigger pot. You can discard most of this, except you want to hold on to that cinnamon stick. And now it's time to add a little bit of rum. 330 milliliters, 11 ounces. Add that into the mix and give it a blend for 90 seconds. Now everything's fully incorporated, transfer it into a liter bottle. The smell of this is absolutely incredible. Now transfer it to the fridge, let it chill overnight, and then we're ready to serve. So the Coquito has been sitting in the fridge overnight, and now it's nice and cold and the ingredients have had a chance to really meld and the flavors combine. So you can just open, pour it into a chilled glass, and you're good to go. A little bit of prep time, so quick and easy to serve. As I said, this batch makes 1 liter, but if you want the full scale recipe, check out the description below, which will make 5.5 to 6 liters of Coquito. As far as garnish goes, grated nutmeg or ground cinnamon. Completely up to you. Cheers. Yeah, that's better than eggnog. I mean, keep in mind, it does have a little bit of sugar in there, but it tastes so darn good. Really good. Even if it's not Christmas, I recommend making and trying this, 100%. If you enjoyed today's video, you can also watch 10 bourbon whiskey cocktails using 1 bottle by clicking up here. And another shout out goes to today's video sponsor, Bacardi, for making this video possible. Thank you. See you soon for another video. Cheers.